Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Nick of the Ravens Loft, and today I wanted to simply ask you one simple question. Is Disney ruining classic stories? And maybe this is a bit of a hot topic, maybe a hot take. I don't really understand how those work, but I want to kind of pose the question here. Before Disney ever got a hold of these classic stories like The Seven Dwarves, Peter Pan, and all that stuff, did their interpretation ruin those stories? Or were they good already? Did we need Walt Disney? Did we need a uh, kid version of these stories? And I wanted to kind of give my quick thoughts about that. But before we get into this, please share your thoughts, comment down below, and then subscribe because we got more videos that'll be coming out like this. But yeah, I want to hear what you think too, because maybe I'm wrong, maybe you got a different view of this whole entire thing. Now, Walt Disney is very well known in the past for taking stories that were in the public domain, stories that have been around for centuries, and then making an animated version of it. It isn't until like way later that they started doing original works or licensing out other properties. One of the very first movies that they ever put out was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And Walt Disney himself had put all of his money into that, life savings, all his assets. He put all his risk on it, and it was if that didn't do good, he was going to lose everything. But it ended up doing increasingly well. It was also known as one of the first animated full-length features. People said he couldn't do it, and he proved them all wrong. But the question is, was it needed to be done? Did it do anything different, or did it do something wrong? And the reason why I ask this is because we have this Winnie the Pooh entered the public domain, and many people know of it because of the Walt Disney version, the Disney version, the very kid-friendly version. And not to say that the book by Mill isn't kid-friendly either. Again, it's a very innocent, well-done book. But maybe Disney is hampering, maybe it's holding back some stuff, because now in the public domain, Winnie the Pooh is being reinterpreted by other creators. And I just happen to be one of those creators that is reinterpreting Winnie the Pooh as a demon hunter. It's part of my line of books that I'm working on right now. But there is another person that is reinterpreting Winnie the Pooh as a horror slash killer sort of movie called Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And my thoughts are, is this good or bad? One of the things that I'm noticing quite a bit from people's reactions to this horror version of Winnie the Pooh that is going to be put out next year is they're very taken back by it. The reception has not been good. The image alone is drawing a lot of criticism compared to what we've seen in the past. And that really got me thinking, why is this one receiving such backlash? But when Walt Disney himself would reinterpret these classic stories, why was it received so positively? And I think we could kind of boil down the essence of the creative process to how do people receive and how do they look at things. Now, this is the funny thing. Walt Disney did not get his start by doing reinterpretations of classic stories with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. He got started with Alice in Wonderland way before he had founded his company. He had started out as an animator, got distribution deal because of these weird integrate, like kind of like Mary Poppins, where he had an integration of animation and live action together. He had this girl that would get stuck in Wonderland, and she would interact with all these funny things. So he really kind of started cutting his chops on the basics of animation, storytelling, and reinterpreting old classic stories at that point. So you can kind of see where he was working in and kind of getting better and better with each one, which gave him the ability to kind of see how people were liking it. So he already had kind of a knack for this. So that kind of begs the question, though, as to why did people still like his version? Why were people more receptive of it and the way that he handled it compared to what we see out of Blood and Honey, this version of Winnie the Pooh? And I think we can boil it down to respecting the source material, honoring what had already come before. I think we can all say that when we enjoy something, and we are really into a particular project or book or something, we don't want to see it massacred. We don't want to see a different version of it that strays so far away from it that it's no longer can be associated with it's only associated by name alone. I think we've seen that a lot. There's certain fandoms that will completely just get mad over certain little changes and stuff like that. But this is, I think here with Winnie the Pooh, this is a huge, egregious change in what we've seen before and how it's being handled. And, that's the thing, though, that once something enters the public domain, is that a bad or good thing? And I think that really comes down to the creator that's handling it. And it kind of proves that just because it enters the public domain doesn't mean that everyone's going to handle it well and that we're going to have different interpretations. But only a few people are maybe going to really hit it on the nail. They're going to really strike gold with it and provide something that is likable by everyone. And that's not to say everyone wants to hit those same standards. Now, maybe this is the hot take. Maybe this is where I'm going to differ with a lot of people, but this is where I've come to respect Walt Disney. The early version of the company before it went more into what we see now as the corporatization of the company, and it's maybe less creativity behind a lot of stuff. But I think early Walt Disney is something I highly respect and it's something I really enjoyed. But that's also because I'm a father and I have very young kids in the house, so Walt Disney movies do play off and on the house. So it's just something I'm currently seeing continuously, and I've come to really respect the original movies and how they were produced, how they were run, and the story behind it, because they really were very sensible to the audience that they were telling it to. I was just watching Bambi just a few days ago with my kids, and I just loved how it built up to that scene and kept things moving. And we could talk about that all day today, but I really admire how Walt Disney respected the source material, but still try to add different flavors and things that would be for the audience he was looking to. Now, obviously, Blood and Honey is looking to serve a horror fan base. Now, this is where I'm probably going to differ with people. I don't think Winnie the Pooh should serve a horror audience. Obviously, with him being the public domain, anyone can go out there and do this now. But I think this is why it's going to come down to why people aren't going to like it as much. But that's not to say there won't be anyone out there that won't like this film, won't want to check it out, and won't become a fan of it. What I'm saying, though, is why is it receiving such critical backlash, but the ones that Walt Disney or other famously have not had have had different receptions? And I think it's because, again, it goes back to respecting the source material. And again, Walt Disney was more known for doing kid versions, making it more fun and adapting it in a more lighthearted fashion. And I know very well that other people aren't going to be into that. That's not everyone's cup of tea, but he really captured that kid demographic, that young adolescent group that maybe not a lot of people were, or they just weren't hitting it as well. And I think I really got to give him kudos for knowing his target demographic, understanding the needs and wants and what they were going to go for. Because as a parent myself, I'm very guarded of what I let my kids watch. And I know a lot of the classic Disney movies, I can sit there and watch that with them and still teach them valuable lessons. And, like Stranger Danger, exactly, or like taking food from a stranger. So there's a lot of things in there that I can still watch with a sense of peace. And I think that's the power of adaptations, is understanding how you are adapting it and giving it a new twist and still staying within the realm of possibility. I think we could all say, like, we've seen different versions of Little Red Riding Hood. A whole bunch of other movies, Snow White, like they just recently had that movie with the huntsman and whatnot. So there are really good ways to do it, and then ways that really kind of don't portray the character in the best. And I think Winnie the Pooh is going to be one of those interesting ones as we go further down the line. We're just in the first year, and we're already seeing some really extreme examples. And I'm sure this isn't going to be the last one. We've always seen Winnie the Pooh tends to lend itself towards very different versions and interpretations. Now it will be up to see how people will consume it, how they'll take it in. Is this going to be a general audience sort of thing, or are people just going to be like, wow, not really into it or whatnot? But I think if we could learn anything, I think that's why Walt Disney himself, when he was going after properties, was one of those ones that you can really look at, and glean, and kind of learn from, because he did know how to adapt. So if you're looking to adapt something, I think you should really look at the people that did it successfully, were able to capture the audience, still maintain that the legacy and respect for the thing, and grow with it, add to its legacy. So if you're really looking to adapt, I think that's really one of the people you should look at, besides a few others, like, Studio Ghibli with their reinterpretation with Ponyo and stuff like that. There's always a cool way to go about it, and then there's also the ways that will alienate people. I think when you're adapting stuff, your job is to not alienate people, it's to bring people in to want to see it, because sometimes it come across as a gimmick and can turn people away. And I don't think, if you're looking to make an impact, I don't think that's what you want as a creator. But also our job is to serve, entertain, and provide something that will capture people. And so if you're going about doing it to just shock people, I really don't think that holds any value. And I'm not a fan of that. That's not where my creative endeavor lies. And that's not something I look to do. But if you're a fan of unique and interesting reinterpretations of classic stories and classic characters, I'm doing a version called Winnie the Pooh Demon Hunter on Kickstarter right now. It's coming down to its last few weeks here, and it will be available again after the campaign, but right now is the best time to get the best prices. So if you're looking for a story that still honors and respects the original while still paying tribute and adding to the long legacy of a character such as Winnie the Pooh, I think you would really enjoy this version, because it just started with the premise of what if Winnie the Pooh was a demon hunter. It's not being done as a gimmick. It's done with a lot of passion and love for these stories, the characters, and the creators. Harking back to the friendship, the bond, and the wholesomeness of it all. So I really want to look to pay respect to these original stories and the fans of this whole entire series, and add to its legacy. Anyways, you guys have a great day, and God bless you.